So, anyways, it looked pretty good. And in addition to what we had last week, I've been doing some experiments, killing myself. One thing that I did is I changed the animation, not the animation, but the movement, so that you only have forward movement. And I can't quite, I'm having some problems here. Bear with me. Forward movement, and then angular movement. Now, actually, the exploration model still allows you to walk backwards, but the game will only allow you to walk in the direction of your reticle. So as you're walking forward, you can just move your reticle, and it will change the direction you're walking, which makes more sense to me. You just dodge these guys. And then you'll see it here. It's probably a little bit hard to see on this resolution, but that was not the right key. Let's try that again. And there it is. So right here you can see we no longer have those green balls for our bullets. We're using arrows out of the Reiner's pack with little shadows. And we're not going to go over that code this week. This week we're going to start on the actual game development, but I just want to show you some of the things that are going to be coming up in our game as far as features, just so you know what's on the horizon. So let me start this again. When I was doing these arrows, one of the things that I experimented with, besides killing myself over and over and not navigating, is I added mass to the arrows, and then I used to have them be sensors, so they would go right through the zombies. Let's get a zombie out here. But now they have mass and they have feedback response, physics response, collision response. And so now they push the zombies back, which I've kind of felt was a nicer effect.
Oh, nice.
So they're falling apart, falling backwards. And then that's all exciting, but let's turn these enemies off so I can stop dying. I'm doing this on the side here where you can't see it.
Is that kind of under, what was that video that we saw? We discussed it several times. It was the making your video or making your game. Oh, the one where you shake the screen and had all these different recommendations for making the game awesome. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah, you sent it to me and introduced it. Anyway, there was this YouTube video.
Yeah, right. All the little things you can add to your game. I know what you're talking about now, right?
Yeah.
Make games juicy.
Making the game juicy, yeah, because obviously when the arrow hits the zombies, they could just die, right? They could just either disappear or whatever, but that doesn't make it feel juicy.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. I mean, I didn't even notice it was wrong until I made a mistake of adding. I was changing the bullet to use the arrows, and I wrote the bullet making code again, which then I called arrow making code later, but still calling it bullets at the time. And I made a mistake when I was typing the code out. And then I was playing around like, what's going on here? Why are these? Initially, when I did it, the zombies were like getting hit and thrown off the screen, which is too much. And I'm like, oh, hey, wait a minute. It's sort of like one of those happy accidents where you make a mistake, you see a result, and you go, hey, wait, that could be better. And then I played around with it for a while. I changed the masses of the zombies and I changed the masses of the arrows. And then I got that basic response that I was looking for, which was knockback, basically.
Yeah, nice.
So. But I like to think of that. I'm glad you brought that up because it's important to experiment in game development and keep track of happy mistakes, because I think a lot of interesting gameplay comes out of mistakes. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but in my personal experience, you can never plan out the game right the first time, and experiments and little mistakes you make sometimes add something very interesting to a game.
I like to doodle, and I feel the same way about creating little pieces of art. Sometimes just doodling is not necessarily headed in a particular direction, but then you'll come across some alignment of shapes, and you'll be like, ooh, that's kind of cool, right? And then you take that discovery into the next iteration of the thing, and then it just becomes this thing that you wouldn't have thought of right from the start with that blank sheet of paper or whatever, but it kind of builds on itself.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Experimentation, making mistakes, that's important too. I say that, but then, sometimes I just get wrapped up in experimenting all day long, and I never get anything done. So don't do that either. Just keep track of everything is the thing. Like with doodling, right? Do you keep okay, when you doodle, you're talking like physical copies or on the computer?
Both. I mean, on both. I have a journal here that I doodle in. Just your basic
So do you keep copies of all your doodle work? I know you do for your journal because it's good, but
Well, sometimes I do. I mean, I haven't reached the point where some people like open up their sketchbooks and they have like all these sketches that they do and stuff like that. I am truly in the sense of doodle. Like whenever I just draw on the edges of corners of pages. But on the one of the great things about drawing on the iPad or something like that is that it's got a gallery and it keeps those things over time, right? And so they're kind of all there. And I have a sounds, I don't want it to sound too fancy, but I have a portfolio of images that I've drawn over the years, and they're essentially just bigger doodles. But out of those items, I can point to anyone. Like I'm working on one on the iPad right now. That's is strictly in the sense of a doodle. It has no meaning or direction or anything. Every time I pick it up, I apply a different style to it, and but it's got some really great effects and some interesting ideas for the next thing, the next iteration of whatever it is that I'm gonna doodle.
Yeah, I keep trying to bring this back to aligning with what you're saying and what I do, which is I keep a collection of experiments.
Yeah, you're like a co-doodler.
A large pile of literally called experiments, right? Just a folder with all kinds of weird things I've tried.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So speaking of experiments.
Yeah, if your dog did it in the carpet, you wouldn't want it, right? But it's good in code and it's good in art.
Okay, I'm not going to go there. That's just wrong. Some other things that we're going to be putting into our game. So the questions that I had to answer sort of in advance is what is the goal of this game? How do we advance in this game? What are we doing? So it's a top-down shooter. Our enemies are going to be zombies and archers and probably some other animals and bad guys out of the Reiner's pack. But besides having a bow and arrow, it would be kind of nice if we had some way to defend ourselves. So what I'm going to do is, as we go along, I'm going to add the ability to pick up items and then lay traps. And so what you're seeing here is all the different kinds of traps, except for this one here, which is a chest. So we got a spike trap. We got 3 different kinds of spike traps. We got a mouse trap, because everybody needs a mouse trap. We've got this spinning spiky thingy. And then we are seeing the 3 different states of the leaf trap, which is basically like it's going to be kind of like a magical effect. And then, of course, because every archer needs the heavy weaponry, we're going to have a laser turret. Don't ask me why there's a laser turret in this collection when it doesn't fit with the theme of anything else. But, I just saw that and I had to have it. So we're going to have laser turrets eventually in our top-down archer zombie shooter.
If the longbow arrow doesn't get you, I will melt your face off.
Exactly. And so the way this is going to work later is you'll see chests. Chests will get dropped by zombies that you kill. And you'll have to go over and pick them up. And different colored chests will give you different items. I may not use all of these items, but currently I think I'll be able to use them all. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure if I have 5 chests. I think I have 4. So we might have to give up one, which will probably be the mousetrap because it's the least cool of them. But you pick up the item, and what's going to happen is we will have a bar at the bottom or somewhere at the top that indicates how many items you've got. And then as you walk along, we'll be able to use a key sequence, like the tab key or something, to change our currently selected trap. And right-clicking will drop an instance of that trap. So let's say, for example, you had the spike. You got the spike, and you're walking along, and you got a zombie following you, and you would right-click, and then as you walk away, a spike trap would pop up and start working. And it would be there for a while, and any zombies that encountered it would get whacked, so to speak.
Nice.
Same thing for the one of my favorites, which is the spinning spike ball of death. And then what we'll do is we will have these give like different kill effects for like this spinning dealy bobber here. We'll probably throw them off in some direction. the leaf thing, probably just tear them apart or something. I don't know. We'll see.